Welcome to the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce News and Views Show. I'm your host, President and CEO of the Chamber, Diane Sawyer. Today's guest we have with us, a Meet the Board edition, Shane Martin from Pella Windows. Welcome to the show, Shane.
Thanks for having me.
We are really excited to have you here. We do like to do a little bit of Meet the Board, but also you guys are a Chamber Champ. We'll talk a little bit about what that means, but also you're one of our larger industries here in Reidsville. So welcome. I know you're not originally from Reidsville, so tell us a little bit about yourself and how you landed here in Reidsville and at Pella and what your position entails and just whatever you'd like to share.
Yeah, so it's actually a little bit of a long story. So I actually grew up in rural Illinois. Spent probably 40 years there. Worked most of my career with Caterpillar Tractor Company out of Illinois. They're centralized in Peoria. I transferred actually to North Carolina in 2015 with them. Worked down at the Sanford facility where we make skid steer loaders. From there, I transferred to Dayton, Ohio, where I spent 3 years working there while my family was still back here in North Carolina. Kids were in high school, so I didn't want to move them. So that became pretty hard over COVID, right? So COVID hit while I was in Ohio, so I was looking for an opportunity to try to get back to the Carolinas, be with the family, right? And this opportunity came available with Pella, and that's how I ended up coming back here to the Reidsville area. About 2 years ago now, working for Pella.
That's awesome. The kids still in school locally? And
actually, my daughter now has graduated. My son actually just graduated. My daughter is a vet tech in High Point, and my son is actually working through the FAME program with Toyota, who's getting ready to open up a facility here in North Carolina.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's such a small world. I don't know if I ever shared that with you, that my dad's from Illinois, and he was adopted, and so he had family in Georgia and then family in North Carolina, and they landed here when he was a teenager. So
really,
it's funny how, and he is also in windows and doors, and so it's kind of interesting, small world and how things work. But COVID was hard. COVID was really hard on families, and lots of people made job transitions and things that they felt like were better for their families, better for themselves, better for their careers. I think especially too, when we were stuck at home, people had a lot of time to think about. I know for me personally, I tell people, I'm like, man, my house was clean, dinner was on the table, the dishes were washed, and there were flowers on my porch because we were home all the time. And it was nice to be home and like really think about, but I also remembered at the time how great it was to be home sometimes. I missed people. I like being out with people.
Yeah, I think when you look at the kids, right, at that time, my son, for example, with not having that structure, that day-to-day structure of school and going back and forth to school, I think it was hard for kids to maintain that consistency and structure that they needed, right?
Yeah, yours were a little bit different. Mine were 3, kinder, and 3rd when it started. So it was definitely like developmental years, and I can see the differences socially, emotionally, all that stuff with the kids. My oldest has a ton of anxiety, and so she loved it because we were home and she did her stuff, and now she's in middle school and she's like, oh, can we go back to, but we survived and we did well. The chamber, that was probably a turning point for us because we had grown a lot. We were known for really great networking events and seminars and resources, right? I tell people all the time what you pay for at the chamber are the resources of our board members, of our ambassadors, of our staff, and even former board members. I still talk to our past chair all the time. He's a great resource for us. He knows everybody in town, and it's really helpful. But what I tell people is, that was a turning point for the chamber as an organization, which is why this board is so important to me, because we're finally to a place. We didn't want to be, I had set this goal many years ago. I wanted people to stop looking at us as an event organization and as somebody who really brought value to the business community. And so when COVID hit, we turned everything on a dime to just be that resource, whether it was grants, whether it was, industry looking for masks and cleaning solutions. And we just did everything that we could. And we had what we took the grassroots efforts of the city and the Team Reidsville idea, and we took that branding, and we had a huddle every Friday. It was the Team Reidsville huddle, and anybody could get on. and we just talked, like, where are you? What's happening? What's happening with your family? What's happening with your industry? Is your shop open? Because, we had so many, as a small businesses, we had so many that weren't open. So it changed a lot of things. And so here, it brought you here. So tell us about, Pella and how, so Pella's not been here that long, well, it seems like it hasn't been that long. It's starting to get to but a newer industry in Reidsville who has survived pandemic and the industry and the changes and kind of the downturn. And I know now we're hiring and kind of going back, but tell us about who Pella is, the core of the family and how things happened. And
kind of two things there, circling back to your point about the chamber, right? So as a new member to the chamber, right, I'm getting more exposure to some of the things that the chamber does, the networking opportunities, especially me being new to the area, learning the diversity of businesses that are in the Reidsville area has been an important piece of my membership, right? Learning that, and then also the opportunities we have to develop through some of the teams that we're on has been great. As far as Pella goes, we've been here since 2019, so we are still fairly new to the area. We're getting ready to celebrate our 5-year this year, so that's a pretty cool milestone. Pella, what I've learned in the short time I've been with Pella, right, is Pella's a family business. They started off as a family-owned roll screen company in Pella, Iowa. Most people don't know that there is a town in Iowa called Pella, right, and that is where the business was founded in 1925, right. So we're coming up on 100 years.
I know. I'm so excited about that. It's really a cool milestone.
What's really neat about Pella that I've discovered in the short time that I've been here is that they have retained that family attitude, right, in the way that they own business. They've always targeted the communities that they work in, right, the communities that they operate in, really trying to make sure that they're supporting those communities and providing good work for the team members in their region that they support.
How do you think that affects both your employees and the communities that they're in, for them to be hanging on to that and how they make their decisions?
Well, I think it's important in a couple ways. One, the focus really for leadership in the organization, servant leadership, right, is really being that servant leader to the team. But two, being able to support the community you're in as a team member of that organization. It's a proud feeling to know that your business or the place that you work for is doing things within your community to help support them.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool to go out and see the Pella logo somewhere, to know one of the first things Pella did was Lake Reidsville and adding money for the trails and making that a better outdoor space for people to be with their families. And I think the family aspect of a company and the way the servant leadership, because right, like most people in a family, you're in a servant leadership role. If you're a parent or a guardian or a grandparent that is participating in all these things. So I think it's neat that they have continued that even though they expanded in other communities across the country, they treat Reidsville like home, just like Pella, Iowa. And I think that your employees have really enjoyed being out. They're proud to wear their Pella gear when they're out and about and doing things and participating in other activities. I see folks all the time that either have something where it's embroidered or they have a shirt or something, and you're like, oh, you work for Pella? And they're like, yeah, So yeah. I think that's important, but also how does it play into, you've stepped onto our workforce development committee. You're hearing how our superintendent and our director of CTE are trying to make changes. Leadership Rockingham toured the Paxton Patterson lab at the middle school this week, and we got to see those modules that they've been telling us about, and it was so cool. I have a really great idea for the Workforce Development Committee after seeing all those things come together. And how does the Workforce Development Committee, seeing what the school system are doing, like you as a leader in the industry, how does that equate to the goals that we all have for our families, for our industries, for our employees, but for our young people, and for making sure that they know there are choices and things that they can do, and in a smaller time frame, in a trade area? How does that all work together?
Yeah, so that's pretty complex, right?
It is.
So, when you think about that, so for me, aligning what we're developing our kids, the skill sets that we're developing our kids to, what is available not only locally but just in general in the industry, right? Is critical, right? So making sure that the schools and the development teams are aligned with what the businesses are needing. I mean, that's a critical piece. If there's a gap there, right, then we're wasting energy,
Right.
or
And
consuming
currently
resources.
we're coming out of a gap, right? So we're trying to figure it out.
So then as a business, right, I'm seeking to understand, what is the opportunity out there from a workforce, right? How do I better attract talent to my organization? So there's benefits on both sides of this equation there.
And I did ask it complexly just because I knew you could follow. But when we think about just the fact that the conversations are happening, just the fact that people are willing to come and sit around the table together, that people from the school system and people from the industry and people from the city and people from the chamber are saying, how do we make the future better? How do we ensure that today's students are tomorrow's employees and that they are employable and that they have, we've heard soft skills and we've heard all these different things. And now our school system is talking about choices. And so they have had these academies, they've had these pathways, and now they're like, we need to dial this back. How do we make individual choices available for each and every student for what aligns with what they want to do, but also keeps them engaged so that we're graduating students, but not just to graduate them, not from just the generic high school like diploma situation. Like, we are graduating really employable, really talented, really engaged young people and giving them all kinds of opportunities to be already taking care of themselves, making money, like having ways to take that next step, right? Because how many of our students I know for me, dating myself, when I was in school, there was no option but to go to a four-year school. That was all that was ever pushed when I was in high school. You were failing if you weren't planning to go to a four-year university and get a degree. And now they're saying, maybe that wasn't the right direction to go at that time in the late 90s and into the early 2000s. So now we are trying to meet our employers where they are. And let's talk about, somebody mentioned the Great Resignation this week on our tour of Leadership Rockingham. And even though I haven't heard that for a while, and even though we're in 2024, it's still affecting our businesses and our industries and people trying to find. And so one thing that I'm really proud of, one thing that Pella brought here was a higher wage and a higher average that kind of put the other industries had to sit up a little bit straighter and say, well, what do we need to be doing? What can we do better? And I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of Pella for being able to say, well, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we treat people. And so we hope that you guys, can follow along. We're not trying to steal anybody. This is just what we do.
Yeah.
So tell me what you think about, like, how do you see the future? Like, where are we at? How many people are we employing? How many people are we probably going to get to? I think you might be adding a line. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the head count number is a variable, right? It changes,
oh, for sure.
Day
to day,
up
maybe.
And down. But we are adding a production line at the facility. It's currently in place. We are actively hiring right now to fulfill that line. So, we are growing. We are investing again in the facility. We are looking at some future growth potentially this fall as well. So it's exciting. The plant has improved its performance over the last year and a half.
And how do y'all measure that?
So obviously cost, right? Mm-hmm. So the cost to produce a unit, we've become very competitive in Reidsville. So the Reidsville team is performing well. Of course, that makes the facility attractive from a corporate standpoint too. That says, hey, this facility is profitable. Let's invest in it, right? So. Mm-hmm. We've done very well, and they are investing in us. So the Reidsville community, we do plan to grow the employment here at this site. So that's exciting.
And you have space on site to grow, correct?
Correct. We actually just went through a transformation last year where we relaid out the facility, freed up some floor space for some additional investment at the facility. That's
something else I'm proud of for being from Rockingham County. You guys came in and took a building that was empty, that had not been used in many years, and you were able to transform it and turn it back into a really great, viable industry, and rehome something that was empty, which for us is a big deal, right? We don't like to see empty buildings. We don't like to see, especially empty industry. And it's, for Reidsville, little back history for people who may not have been able to follow, but when American Tobacco left, they were the largest taxpayer and they were the majority of the tax base for the city of Reidsville. And so the council back in the late 90s, they were trying to figure out, like, how do we supplement that? How do we figure it out? And I think something that Reidsville's been really progressive about was they did two things. One was infrastructure. They have followed the state guidelines and done everything they needed to do when it came to water and sewer and being able to attract industry and being able to provide the infrastructure that was needed. But two, they wanted to grow the tax base back to what it was and to make up for that difference, but they didn't count on one person to come in and do that. One industry, one company. They diversified, they helped their current businesses expand, they helped bring in smaller industry that was able to grow the tax base back to what we were gonna lose. And so a lot of people, I think, we're like, oh, well, we haven't been the same since the tobacco company left. But what they don't understand is that it just looks different. And we have tried really hard to, they've revitalized downtown since that time. At that time, you didn't have the things you do. You didn't have, there was a lot of crime in the 90s. There were a lot of the things that they decided to do away with. So I think the council has been really progressive, and I know that they worked really hard with the economic development team at the county to bring Pella here, and you guys are just one of the shining examples of a really successful industry recruitment in the last several years that has really helped Reidsville continue to be progressive and moving forward instead of backwards, which is helpful. You guys do a lot of stuff in the community, which is another thing. So one of the first things Pella did is they're like, yeah, we're going to write a check to the trails and help expand the trails at Lake Reidsville. Tell us a little bit about why they do that, what that looks like, things y'all have been involved in.
Yeah, one of the things that's important to the Pella Corporation really is investing in the areas in which they operate, right? They really want to be a part of that community and be seen as a partner in the community. So, the short time that I've been here, we've actually made quite a few investments in the community, not on my part, right? But just what I've noticed, and especially coming from a large corporation like I did, it's very rewarding to be able to be a part of that. And include our team on that, right? So I know you've seen where when we do stuff like that, we'll bring the team out with us, right? And we'll make those donations, or we'll deliver those grants, and it's very rewarding for the team, but it's also nice to be seen in the community as that team player, right? Or as that participant in the community, that we're investing in where we operate, not only for the community, but for our team. It's important to them to see that, hey, the place I work for, they care about the community. So it's been pretty cool to be a part of that. I know we recently did the Chincopen Trail. We went out there and made a donation to that. And then for me personally, learning about some of these things, right? So being new to the area, I'll often present to my team and some of the team members, like, hey, what is this trail, right? And then they'll talk to me about how important it is and why they like it, right? And that's a big factor in the decision making that we make is, how does our team feel about this project or this event or this organization that we're potentially going to give some money to. So that's critical to the team as well.
I love it, because that means that Team Pella is a huge part of Team Reidsville. So we are very excited that you all do that. I love the branding. The bright yellow stands out. I love how you guys make sure that you include your team in those and your social media. One of the things I've noticed on your social media is that you guys do a lot of contests or a lot of things where you award employees for certain things. Talk to me about that. What does that culture look like?
I would say probably in most organizations, recognition is probably a weak spot, right? We don't do enough to recognize extraordinary efforts, right? Folks that go above and beyond. We get so tied up in the day-to-day efforts that we take for granted some of the things that are happening. So we try to be intentional about finding time to recognize folks that are putting in that extra effort, or maybe went above and beyond for a certain task. So we're continually looking for new ways to keep that meaningful, right? So if it's the same thing over and over, it loses its luster, right? So you kind of have to completely reinvigorate that on a repeated basis to keep it thoughtful and meaningful to the team members.
Yeah. Well, we've been talking about a lot of higher level stuff. Let's break down to who is Pella? Like, what are your products? How did you get started? What have you expanded to, so that people know, what do you do?
Yeah, so Pella in general makes a wide variety of windows and doors, just like the name says, whether it be high-end windows and doors, wood, fiberglass. Here at this facility, we make the 250 series vinyl windows. We are going to be making doors here in the very near future, but we service, it's a regional model, so the Reidsville facility services parts of Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Northern Florida. We do go into Ohio a little bit and some into Tennessee. But the windows we make are custom, right? So they're purchased. You can order pretty much any size window you want, arch tops, things like that, come through our facility. We also make it what we call an opening price point window, which would be what you'd see in Lowe's. You can go in and custom order windows through Lowe's that would come through our facility as well. But most of our windows are going directly to a remodeler or builder.
So if you want a Pella window, there's a line through Lowe's, but also can have when you build, you can have them.
Yep, so we have a dealer network as well. So we have
Gotcha.
PDSNs, which are dealers. We have some in Greensboro, we have some in Raleigh, and we have branches where you can go purchase windows through them as well.
Yeah, and growing up, windows and doors, I understand Pella has a very good quality product, which I know that you're proud of.
Right.
And I think that it's really cool to know. I personally think one of the things that I love doing is telling people about, or touring, when you can say, oh, that's a product that was made in Reidsville, right? And so I think that there are probably a lot of Pella windows and doors in people's homes around here. And honestly, in Rockingham County, from all sides of Greensboro is coming this direction. And there are new houses being built every day, every way on my way to work. Every day that I'm passing, there's like a new house being built. And I always wonder, I'm like, wonder if that's Pella windows and doors, because it's just, to me, like growing up here, I tell people all the time, workforce development committee here's this story all the time, but I would drive through town. My mom worked at the hospital. I would drive from Eden, and you would pass by all the buildings, and you had no idea what was being made, what was happening on the other side, what was going on. And like now to be in this role and to know the people and to know the things that are happening, like people don't know that there are baby wipes that are made. They don't know that there are parts for their Ford F-150s. They don't know that the doors and the windows in their house were made right here in Reidsville. Right. So I just find that so fascinating. And so I think that for me, I think one of the main goals of the Chamber is to educate our community, to educate our businesses, to educate anybody who wants to listen about all the great things that are happening, whether it's the schools, the industries, but to just be a resource. And so we are so thankful to have people like you who are willing to serve on the board, to learn, to pass information, to gather information. And I think that is one of probably my favorite things, is to get into the people and to having those relationships. Tell us, you said you'll be making doors soon. I know you're putting in a line soon. Tell us about what the future of Pella looks like. We're celebrating 5 years. What do we look like in another 5 years?
Yeah, so obviously, it's a business that is heavily relying on construction and remodeling. But we are excited. We are doing good things. Like I said, the business is performing very well here in Reidsville from a competitive standpoint. So we are putting in another window line currently that's expected to start up here in the May-June timeframe. And then we are looking at a door line coming in late this fall. So we are excited about the amount of volume coming through the facility. And then obviously, we're only running one shift right now, so we have an entire shift of capacity available to us too. So as that volume increases, obviously there's potential to grow even further from a staffing standpoint.
Yes, and I think that is cool. Like, to me, when we have an industry who already has the capacity, already planning, already have the availability, that means good things for Reidsville, and that means good things for Rockingham County and good things for the region. I really think that Love's coming here was one of the best things, and people are like, oh, it's just a gas station. I'm like, no, it is not just a gas station. It's a really phenomenal way for our industries to get what they need, because now there's a facility that those trucks that are coming and going and driving can stop at, that they know is safe, that they know is clean, that has the facilities they need. And people just don't quite understand. So that's our job. It's one of the things we did when Loves came, was explain how the Pellas of the world and how the Tri-State Steels of the world and how all the people who worked together, what it was going to mean to them that we had that, and how we were going to be able to grow and expand from that. So you guys are right there in the heart of all that industry stuff that's happening right off the highway, getting ready to have that blue shield. Construction is happening. It's pretty cool. It's pretty amazing. And to think that you could get from Pella to the airport in it's going to be like 25 minutes.
Yeah, the bypass.
The bypass, the
being
840
open is critical from a travel standpoint.
Yeah.
And to your point, the Loves, right? That big now you have a destination. It's not necessarily a destination in the form of a vacation hotspot, right? But when people are traveling, they recognize the Loves name. To your point,
Yep.
Hey, I'm going to stop here. I know that
That's right.
there's a safe place to get gas. There's probably something to eat there, and now that can draw travelers into your community, right?
Sure. So tourism, absolutely. And there's so many things, and love it, like it, hate it, lump it, whatever. The casino being right over the line in Danville, it's going to be huge, and that exit is going to have a lot of great things happen. But you know what it's great for? It's great for your employees, because they're going to have, and this is what I tell people, this is how all of it works, right? It comes full circle. So Pella wants to recruit people. They need to have good schools. They need to have places to live. They need to have shops, places to eat, places to buy groceries. All of those things matter. And so that's why, for a big picture purpose, every little puzzle piece that we can get and fit and grow and put into place means that big picture, it's happening.
Right.
And you just got to be able to see it on that level. So we are so excited to have you here. We are thankful for you as the plant manager. We're so excited you've gotten involved in the chamber and in the community, and glad that you're here and reunited with your family. And we're excited about the things that you're doing at Pella. And we are basically out of time. Is there anything that we didn't cover? Anything you want to add? Tell people where to go, how to visit, how to hire, how to apply if you're looking to hire.
Yeah, and we hire through our website. So definitely go to Pella.com if you're looking for employment, and we're looking for employees. So please do that if you're interested. We are located very conveniently, like you said, right over by the exit by Loves. So from a travel perspective, commuting, it's a very easy place to get in and out of. The other thing I would add is it's been rewarding to be a part of the chamber, even though I'm fairly new. The networking that I've already gained in that short time has been great. Plus, it's helped me understand the diversity of the industry in the community, what the workforce looks like from a talent perspective and things like that. So it's been a rewarding experience as well. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate you having me today.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you, and you've got a great staff that we have loved working with for 5 years. Some of them have been there from day one, and so we're very appreciative. So thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you.
All right, that's it for today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, you can find us in the heart of downtown Reidsville at 140 South Scale Street, or you can check us out on our social channels or at www.reidsvillechamber.org. Stay tuned. We'll see you real soon.